it's kind of interesting because when I was a child, I was the only Derek in Dublin that I knew. Now Derek is a very popular name. The name Culley, Irish name, Irish Scottish. So basically, the family's kind of Scottish, Irish, Nordic, Norman. Like every Irish family, it's a big mix.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started with this episode.
I don't know what to say about other than that. I don't know many Culleys. I don't know many people with my name.
Mm-hmm. So you say it was a pretty uncommon as a name. So you were the only Derek that you know of in Dublin.
When I was a child. Now it's quite popular.
I see. That's good. That's good. So tell me about. So you grew up in Ireland. Do you want to tell me a bit about your background as a child?
Grew up in a. I don't like the definition working class, middle class, upper class, lower class. I grew up in a good house. We were well looked after, well fed, well clothed, well educated, which is the foundation for all Irish families, education. And nothing I can really say that was negative about my upbringing,
Mm-hmm.
other than I had to grow up and get a job and start doing things.
You really like that?
No, it was nice when I was a child. I missed my childhood to a sense because there was a lot of innocence there, a lot of genuine innocence, genuine good feelings.
All right. Tell me more about that innocence. Tell me more about what it means in your childhood.
As a child, I wouldn't judge you. I wouldn't look at you. I would be with Obehi. Now as an adult, I've got all the other things in between from when I left school, when I went and got a job, when I went and did this, did that, and things get in the way of judging. Now, for me, I haven't changed. I'm still a child, although I'm 70 years of age. But I think there's a lot that should be looked at in children that we give up. And I think that's a wrong thing to do.
How do we lose our innocence and then begin to judge, like you said now,
Because
and we judge everything? Sometimes it's not really judge, but actually prejudice, as it were.
well, we make a choice.
Uh-huh.
It's free will. You have a choice. You can choose to be that person or that person. I went to art college for 3 weeks of an evening time. The reason why I joined was to get a student union card, because with a student union card, you got all your art materials cheap in the shops, and also it meant cheap travel. But I lasted 3 weeks in art college. I couldn't be part of that group of people. It just didn't sing right to me. I just found them boring. I found them pretentious. They were trying to be what they, I wanted to learn about art and learn about materials. I didn't want to be told how to do things. I think a lot of growing up is about how to get the balance right. It's all a balance. I'm sounding more of a philosopher here than I'm an artist. But then philosophy and art, what's the difference?
So today you are living near Liverpool.
Yeah.
At what stage did you come? Did you leave Ireland and you started to live in Liverpool? Tell me more about that.
Left Ireland in '73, moved to London, then moved to Windsor. Spent maybe 30 years in Windsor. Then basically when I was 54, I retired. Just gave everything else up, sold up everything I had, paid off all the education, and basically got out of the rat race, moved up north, because up north you could buy a lovely house for a fraction of what you paid down south. There are two countries in Britain. There's the north and the south. And
so you mean the north and south are completely different countries in the?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're different countries. Yeah. You go 60 miles north of London, and you can draw a line across the country. Different country, different people. People up north. Liverpool is very Irish. In the 1800s, when you had the big famine in Ireland, a lot of Irish went to Liverpool. So at one time in Liverpool, 1/4 of the population was Irish born. not first, second, or third generation, but Irish born. So Liverpool is very, very Irish because a lot of girls lose their marriage name. When they get married, they lose their surname. So you lose the Irishness there, but they're still Irish. Liverpool is as near to Ireland as you can get. Um, I just like it up here. I like up north. It's less pretentious.
All right. Now, talking about Irish, you are an Irish. You, of course, even though you live in the other part of the country of the UK, and what are you proud of being an Irish? Tell me more about that. I'm interested.
I think the Irish have a great history, like the Egyptians talk about the pyramids. Well, Ireland has a great prehistory as well. You've got the great Celtic tradition, great Celtic art. I found so much inspiration in Celtic art. I found so much inspiration in Irish poetry. I just think we're very, very. Ireland is unique, but Ireland has changed so much in the past 20, 30 years that when I go home, I don't feel like I'm going anywhere that's so different to England. Maybe the world's becoming cosmopolitan, but there's still a uniqueness in Ireland. But you find that up here in north of England. You find that you go to a Liverpool pub, go to a Liverpool anywhere, and people talk to you. Down south, you'd be let die. You could sit at a table and die. People would just step over you. Up in the north of England, people want to know you. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, if you want your privacy, forget it. People want to know you.
That is a good thing, right?
I love it. I love it.
All right, that's good, Derek. Thank you so much for that. All right, today we're talking about your work as an artist because you're a curator. You do a lot of work within the artistic world. You want to tell me more about how you started as a collector, as a curator, as an artist? Yeah, please help me with that.
I just like with the art. It's a means of expressing myself. I was never able to play an instrument. I do write, so I express myself that way, but I do that privately. Although I am going to do a book shortly. I've decided after a while to do before I die, because we all die, whether we like it or not. Um, for me, art, I'm a very private artist. I keep a lot of what I do to myself. Although in the past number 5 years, maybe since 2017, I've been a guest writer for a magazine called Art and Museum Magazine. I don't get paid for it, but I write articles on lots of artists. And I've been discovering lots of artists, and I've been discovering that there's a very nice big community there of artists, a lot of young up and coming artists, and I enjoy it. I just enjoy the art world. I used to curate. I did some very, very serious curating in the 80s and 90s, and also in 2000. But I can't do it now due to my health. Curating takes an awful lot of commitment, and it takes a lot of health, it takes a lot of energy. You can't do it if you can't do it. I know that sounds a bit Irish, but you have to be able to do it properly. Um, I just love art.
All right, that's good. That's lovely, and that's legitimate also.
It is
All
what
right.
it is. What it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you were curating. What exactly were you curating? Tell me more about that.
Um, well, we all have. In the 80s, I was a volunteer curator for the Windsor Community Arts Centre. We are actually the first people to exhibit Damien Hirst, who, by the way, is a very nice gentleman, very, very well mannered. He's of Irish background, by the way. Very good manners. We curated lots of famous artists. And then I did a show in the 80s through to the 90s called Celtic Vision. Now, Celtic Vision was the major show in that we featured Celtic artists from Celtic regions. There are namely 7 Celtic regions, but we didn't make it linguistic. We focused on the visual. And, that featured people like Francis Bacon, Sidney Nolan, Alan Davey. It also featured, we had a rule that 50% of the artists would be up and coming, would be unknown. And also that 50% would be female. Because at the time in the 80s, that was just forbidden. Men just ignored women. They were just pushed to one side. And I did one big show there, or two big shows, 2008 and 2009, where we had FIS, FIS, which is a Gaelic word for vision. And the Contemporary Urban Centre were celebrating Liverpool City of Culture. So they invited me to do an exhibition with another Irish artist called Martin Campbell. And we did it. It was a major, major show, but it was organic. It wasn't like we had sat down and done a war plan. Because how do you come to sponsors when you together before? What is your manifesto? What is this? What is that? We just got together, did it. And the thing that helped a lot, funny enough, in getting sponsorship was the Celtic Vision catalogue. Because the Spanish authorities, they spent a lot of money on producing a big catalogue. And it's an important thing to remember, young artists. Catalogues, keep them. And invitation cards, keep them. It helped me get the funding we needed for the show fees. That was my last big show. Um, Other than that, I'm just doing articles now. That's my curating, I suppose. Discovering young artists, discovering older artists. I mean, there's one there I just came across the other day, Bernice. My son brought it to my attention. I never heard of her, but I knew her. This is strange because she used to go to the same gallery, the Drian Gallery in London that I used to go to. So life is funny how it comes around in circles. My son Duncan is a brilliant artist, and he's got similar interests to myself. So I'm at fault for that.
So in your period of curation, what would you say is your best moment? The artwork that you have done, that you have curated, what would you single out as your singular best moment?
It's actually something people have got to be careful of, because if you get known to being a very good curator, it can become difficult to get exhibitions for your own work, because people think you're seeking favoritism. That people think it's a game you're playing. Um, Rate them. I did I had a bad period of health, 2007, 2008. I took very ill, and two heart attacks, and I decided I wanted to do a painting of the crucifix, the Stations of the Cross, Golgotha, which is the place of the skull, Golgotha. Now, I decided, crazy, I'll do a big one. I decided to do a 30-foot canvas, one piece, and I finished it. Funny enough, the art gave me so much of, do you want to tell the story? Oh, tell it. 3/4 of the way through doing the Golgotha, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, which is not uncommon at my age. Men should check for this. But I didn't feel any fear. I didn't feel like, why me? I had my treatment. That's 2007, 2008. So the treatment obviously worked. I'm still here. You do get complications. That's part of life. But Golgotha, the place of the skull, my favorite moment for that one painting, you talk about recognition, it was hanging in the prayer hall in the RDS, which is a big place in Dublin, during the International Eucharistic Congress, 2012. It was the women, the nuns from Brazil, from Africa, from everywhere else in Europe that loved that piece of work. They saw things I didn't. The men didn't react to it. The archbishops, the cardinals, they hated it because it wasn't traditional. It wasn't your Michelangelo. And I said, no, it's not Michelangelo, it's Derek Culley. I'm Derek Culley, I'm not Michelangelo. This is my work. But it should be. I said, why should it be? But it was the nuns that gave me such joy. I know you're not supposed to take pride, but you're allowed it. The Golgotha's probably. Although I like the other series I did, which is called Tala, TALLAGHT. Tala is a Gaelic town. It's an ancient village. It's where I went to school, and I did 14 canvases for Tala. And Tala in Gaelic means the place of the plague mound at Towlocht. I take pride. Yeah, I take pride in some of my works. Yeah, some of my works I do. But there are works I take pride in. So to say I take more pride in that as opposed to curating, that to me is two different people. It's a different exercise.
As an artist, sometimes you are go to have to wear different kind of hats. Sometimes does that make any sense?
Well, it is. Well, exactly. It's exactly what I'm trying to say. You put it in words. I mean, you're trying to be, and you have to be sensitive to the fact that you're curating, and that people aren't looking at you as an artist, and that you're showing preferences and showing this and showing that. You try to be balanced. It's very hard. It's very hard. I do love curating, but I'm not up to it now. I'm not up to it. It takes so much to do.
I see. Yeah. Well, at your age, sometimes you can change also and do something
No,
different.
not very,
You have done your work. You have done
not
your
very
work.
this
Yeah.
age. I've got medical conditions, and I just
Hmm.
haven't got the energy. I'm disabled. I've got a condition called Charcot-Marie-Tooth. Now, for people who've got diabetes, they'll be aware of Charcot foot, where you get the numb foot, right? Dr.
Hmm.
Charcot, yeah. Well, Dr. Charcot is part of the team that discovered Charcot-Marie-Tooth. And it's progressive, it's hereditary. You, if you're going to do something, you've got to have the energy to do it.
What role does storytelling plays in your work, the work that you do? How important is storytelling for you?
I didn't get that. Well, storytelling.
Yeah.
Storytelling. No, I'm partially deaf, by the way. You've got a very soft accent. Storytelling. That would say, okay, that I've got a conscious message I'm trying to get across in the painting when I started. That would imply that. I mean, if you look at Golgotha, that's 30 foot long with 14 panels separated by a line, and it's 60 inches high. And I did not set out to do a story. I set out to put a feeling across. Is storytelling feeling telling? Hey, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Am I telling my feelings, or am I? I'd have to think about that. I really would, because that's a very profound concept. Are you feeling telling by conveying your feelings subconsciously, or are you storytelling? I don't think I'm storytelling as such. Although I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of studying, I do a lot of thinking, but am I storytelling? That's Or is your work part of the bigger story? It's a complicated one, that. I mean, I could just say, yeah, I'm storytelling, blah, blah, blah. Give you a bullshit answer. But honestly, I don't know. I really don't know.
All right, that's fair enough. It's okay. We don't need to know everything. We just need to participate. All right, tell me about your feeling when you painted the story on about Golgotha that you were making
What
mention
else?
of. Uh, what was going through your head as you were putting that work together? Let me understand your feeling about it.
Well, I try to retain a degree of spontaneity. I try to do it in blocks of four, and I try to get. And I worked from. Most artists will work from left to right. Well, I actually worked from right to left, and I don't to this day know why, but that's how I did it. Um, I feel it's very difficult to say you did this and did that when in fact you don't know why. But I've read a lot, studied a lot. So it's a culmination of all these things that are there. And I was trying to feel, I mean, I did read the title because each Station of the Cross, Golgotha, you'll find that there are traditional titles. So I use those as my starting point. So there was a starting point, which, okay, you could say that's storytelling of, you know, not consciously storytelling, but it's being guided by a story. Boom. Is a title to a Station of the Cross a story? Well, it is, because the cross is telling the story, isn't it? Okay, you got me there. That's the story. There you are.
All right.
You're
All
telling a
right.
story based on the title of what you painted against. Yeah, okay, so you are telling a story without realizing it.
And now you did make mention of artists walking from left to right and sometimes from right to left. What do you mean by that?
Well, traditionally, if you're doing something, if you've got two canvases, you work from the left to the right. It's like you're writing. If you're writing, you don't write from left to right, do you? If you unless you're Chinese, you work from you work from left to right. Well, maybe you do. I do. I do. Um, An interesting question to ask your artists.
All right. Thanks for the answer.
Well, no,
And what motivates you in your work, in your artistic work? What is your motivation?
if I'm very honest, my motivation is that if I don't do art or make art, I feel sick. I get unhappy. I feel got to be more to life than just sitting around doing things. You know, there's got to be. I paint because I paint because I paint because that's me. I have to. It's like some people make music. I mean, I'd love to be able to sit down and just put a guitar together and put tunes together. I'd love to be able to do that. So I do on my art. I get periods where I write poetry, for which I'm very grateful for, because I don't do too often. And it comes, it just comes forward.
And what is your satisfaction for doing that? Why do you do it?
Satisfaction and why do you do it are two different things. Um, if I've done something that I think is a good piece of work, I get satisfied. I'm satisfied with that. I feel a sense of pride. Why do I do it? Because I have to. Uh, Generally, when I do anything with words, poetry, it's generally because I've probably exhausted myself doing my drawings. Because I can draw 4 or 5 hours a day nonstop, and then suddenly sit down and do a poem for 10 minutes. And the poem is good because I know what's good and what's bad. I'm not saying that I'm a genius. I just know what's good and bad because I believe that we're all tools. I think the energy comes from somewhere, be it God, be it whoever, whatever. The energy comes from somewhere. We're tools. We don't own. I don't own my paintings. I don't own my poetry. I'm just the vehicle, the instrument bringing it out. That's what I believe.
That's what you believe. And you said the energy comes from somewhere. There
Yeah.
is one production house in Nigeria. Of course, it's an old one now. It's called Wale Adenuga Production. And they used to say there that we are pencils in the hand of the creator. I wanted to expand about on that, that you don't owe your art. You are sort of a kind of a tool in the hands of, I don't know, maybe superior forces to use to communicate, to come to light. I wanted to say something more about that.
I find that very difficult to answer honestly, knowing an answer that is honest and not complicated and straightforward. Because I mean, I've got friends who are very, very, very religious and they're very high up, and their belief system is, I wish I had it. It's profoundly simple. It's and it's not insulting. It is honest. I all I know is that I do what I do, what I do because I do what I do. But everything I see is there. Everything that I draw in my abstracts, you'll find it if you look. The lines are there, the colors are there, and I'm basically repeating what I'm seeing in my format. And I do drawings and I look at them and I go, well, hang on, why did I do that? How did I do that? Where did it come from? But I might say, okay, I like it. It works. I'm proud of it. You know, you have to, as long as you're proud of what you do.
All right. But you love what you do, right?
Yes and no.
Okay, explain that.
Well, sometimes if I'm not doing and I should be doing, I get temperamental, not in a bad way, but when I've done what I've done, I'd like to know why sometimes I did it. What brought this forth? I mean, there's no logic. If you look at my work and go through it, okay, I can honestly say, having looked at other people's work in the past 5 years doing this, writing articles, I've now started looking at my own work, and I'm looking at it constructively. And I can see a signature in my work when I was 16 through to today. So, if one day I become recognized and people want to, do a trace thing on Derek, there is a definite signature style in what I do. Now, if that's indicative of something, I don't know. I think it is. I think it's indicative of, is it confidence? Is it commitment? Is it just what you do? But it's indicative of you. It's indicative of me, the artist. If there is a signature style that carries through. I mean, I couldn't wake up one morning if someone said, "Derek, you're famous. Do me 10 splashes on a canvas." I wouldn't do that. For the life of me, I wouldn't do it. That would I'd be betraying everything I believe in. And I don't even know what I believe in, but anyway.
All right. Thanks for your honesty. All right. Now, say maybe, for example, there is a strong message in your work that you want to communicate, starting from the age of 16, like you did say, that is a signature there. What is that message? What are you trying to communicate with your work?
What am I trying to communicate with my work? See, that goes back to storytelling, doesn't it? That goes back to storytelling.
Yeah. It's up to you.
No. I'm thinking because there is a circle. I mean, whether we like it or not, I mean, at 16, I was doing what I was doing. Now I'm 70. I'm doing what I'm doing. But what's happened in between? Is that me telling stories? Is that me chasing stories? Is that me looking for answers to questions? I don't know. It's got to be all of it. It has to be the sum total of what you are. I would think it's the sum total of what you are at any moment in time. So at this moment in time, my present work, which has a signature from when I was 16 style, is where I am at this moment in time. Now, my storytelling, I don't think I repeat my work. I do have a signature style, so that can look repetitive sometimes. It's a difficult one. Can't answer that.
It's okay. It's fair enough. Now, what would be your final thought here today to conclude the conversation that we have had? Because we basically have looked at your work, why you do your work, and the satisfaction from it. Now, perhaps there is a message you want to leave the audience with to conclude it. Please go ahead.
Well, very simple. Young artists, keep all your invitation cards, save all your catalogs. Try and do a little catalog every exhibition, no matter what it is, because it's a great record of what you've done. And be proud of your work.
Thank you so much, dear Derek. I appreciate the time and also the sharing. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewanfo. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you in the next episode.